How to play fingerpicking or fingerstyle guitar, lesson 18. Blocking and the blocking technique. If you've been following this guitar course, hopefully you'll remember what pinching is. Pinching is where you play two strings with the thumb and finger at the same time. So it's like a pinching movement, which is where it gets its name from. Blocking is very similar, except most of the time we don't use the thumb. It's done just with the fingers. The easiest way I can demonstrate blocking and explain it is if we dive straight into the exercises. So for this video, it'd be a good idea to have a guitar on your knee. That way you can copy what I'm doing and try the exercises for yourself. Exercise 1. Exercise 1 has got 4 sub-exercises, 1A, 1B, 1C and 1D. And this is just so I can demonstrate several variations of the blocking technique. And hopefully this will make it easier for you to understand exactly what it is. For these exercises, I won't hold down a chord, and that way you can focus all your attention on my picking hand. So here's exercise 1, nice and slow at 80 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. You'll notice I'm playing both strings at exactly the same time with my picking hand. So each string has its own finger assigned to it, which in this case are the middle and the annular fingers. Let's see and hear that played again, but this time try and play along with it if you can. I'm sure you'll agree that's not too hard at all. So let's move on to the second exercise, which is exercise 1B. And again, we're plucking 2 strings, but this time it's the G and the B string, and we're using the index and the middle fingers. Here it is after 2 bars at 80 beats per minute. And here that is again at 80 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along with it if you can. I'm sure you'll agree that's quite easy. So let's move on to exercise 1C, where we're using the index and the annular finger, and we're missing out the middle finger. And we've got a gap in the strings, so we're just playing the G string and the E string. Here that is being played with a 2-bar introduction at 80 beats per minute. And here that is again at 80 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along with it if you can. Right, let's move on to 1D, the final exercise 1, where we're playing all 3 of the top strings, that's the G, B and E strings, using the index, middle and annular fingers. And we'll hear how that's played with a 2-bar introduction at 80 beats per minute. And here that is again, so you can try and play along with it. Exercise 2. This tune is in common time, or 4/4 time, so there's 4 beats in the bar. And in a very simple way, it demonstrates that you can play the bass line, chord and melody in one tune. You'll notice then that each bar opens with the bass line, then you have the accompanying chord, and finally, in most bars, you've got a couple of notes of melody. The rhythm for this exercise is very simple. It's literally just a note per beat, unless there's a rest. So let's hear it being played, and I'll play it at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. And don't forget, it's 4/4 time. You'll notice that the only complicated part of this tune is the melody part. Now, you can take off the chords if you want to, but it would be better if you could leave the chords in place, because they do ring in the background. But unfortunately, this means most of the melody part you have to do with your little finger. Here it is again at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along with it if you can, but because this one's a little more difficult, don't worry if you can't. I'll put 2 minutes of metronome beats at the end of this video so you can try practicing first. Here it is again at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along with it if you think you can. One of the great advantages of learning from YouTube videos is that you can pause or stop the lesson at any point and go away and practice. However, if you don't feel you need to do that, let's continue on to the next exercise. Exercise 3. Now, with exercise 3A and 3B, you can choose which one you want to practice. You don't have to practice both. And they're both the same tune with the same chords. The only difference between the two exercises is the choice of fingers you use to pick. And this is because of the nature of contemporary music. If I was teaching you classical guitar, there'd be one way to pick these tunes and one way only. But as I'm teaching contemporary music here, I give you the choice of choosing which fingers you want to use to pick the tune. To decide whether you want to practice style 3A or 3B, the first thing you need to do is just play the first line of both exercises. And you might need to do this a couple of times before you decide which way is best for you. And then, once you've chosen a style, stick to it. If you try to practice with both styles of fingerpicking, you'll find it'll take you twice as long to get the same improvement as one practicing just one style of fingerpicking. So stick with the style you're happiest with. Okay, here's line 1 of exercise 3A at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. And then that'll be followed with exercise 3B, also with a 2-bar introduction. 3A. Three B. Here's the two first lines again. 3A. Three B. I'll play exercise 3A all the way through now, and then I'll play exercise 3B all the way through. Notice that both exercises have a repeat from the 4th line back to the 1st line, because if you ignore this, you won't be able to follow what I'm doing. If you're ready, you can play along with whichever style of fingerpicking you've chosen to play. Exercise 3A with a 2-bar introduction at 100 beats per minute. Here's exercise 3B at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. And if you want to play along with it, any style, you can. Exercise 4. This exercise demonstrates that you can block with 4 strings. So that's all your usable fingers: primary, index, middle and annular. And you'll notice when I play it that the fingers go upwards and the thumb goes downwards. So it's almost like a pinching action. Try the example first, because with this you don't have to play a chord, so you can concentrate on what the picking hand is doing. Here it is being played 4/4 time at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. And here that is again at the same speed with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along with me if you can. Exercise 4 gives you the chance to try some chords using this technique. Notice that the primary or the thumb plays a different note on every chord, and this is because it's playing the root note of the chord, or the note that gives the chord its name. When you practice this particular exercise, you don't need to use a metronome, but I'll use a metronome anyway so that you can follow along and play along with me. I'll stick with the 4/4 time metronome at 100 beats per minute, and there'll be a 2-bar introduction. Here that is again at the same speed with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along with it if you think you can. Hopefully, practicing that technique will have got you ready for the last lesson of this video, which is how to play Medieval Slow Dance by Sad Fantasy. Hopefully, you've already listened through this tune, so you know how it sounds. However, if you haven't, don't worry. I'll play through the guitar part first at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. This piece is in 3/4 time, so there's 3 beats in the bar. You'll notice that the rhythm is fairly straightforward, in that you get an emphasized note on the first beat of the bar and then a lesser note on the last beat of the bar. You also noticed for the first half of the tune, I actually removed notes from the chord to create the tune, so all I have to do is lift fingers. The second part of the tune, I have to add some notes to the chords using my little finger. The chords are all very straightforward chords that you've used earlier in this course on several occasions. Here it is again at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Let's just take a closer look at the first half of the tune. The first chord is a D minor, and to play the second part you remove the first finger and then you move to the G6. You'll notice that the third finger could stay in place because you play the same note for the D minor and for the G6, so you could swivel round that finger if you wanted to. The next chord you play is the A minor, and you play the A minor for both the third bar and the fourth bar. However, at the end of the third bar you lift the first finger and then you put it back before you play the fourth bar. Now, with what you've just looked at, you've more or less got the whole tune. If we look at the first 3 lines, it's literally the same thing as you've just learnt, with slight variations. So let's go on to the 4th line, where we start the line with an A minor. We then remove the first finger and then move to an E minor and back to the A minor. You'll notice that some of the chords are marked A5, and this is just a shortened version of the A minor, so you don't have to change the chord shape if you don't want to. Right, let's hear the first half of the tune, or the first 4 lines, being played at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along with it if you think you can. Here that is again at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along if you think you can. Right, let's take a look at the second half of the tune. And at a first superficial glance, you'll notice that the chord structure of the second half of the tune is identical to the chord structure of the first half of the tune, which does make life easier. Now let's look at it in more detail. The first bar of the second half is identical to the first bar of the first half. However, in the second bar, whilst we play a G6 again, this time we have to add a note to the 3rd fret on the top E string, and we do this using the 4th finger. In fact, during the whole of the second half of the tune, the 4th finger does most of the work. If you look at bar 3, you'll see you play an A minor, but this time blocking the top 3 strings, and then you add the 3rd fret to the B string using that 4th finger, and then you remove it again for the 4th bar. Let's hear the 5th line being played at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. Let's hear that again. Try and play along with it if you think you're ready. From the 5th line onwards, we just repeat the same techniques you've already learnt. So it's just a case of practice to get that. Here's the tune being played from the 5th line to the end at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. And here that is again. Try and play along with it if you think you're ready. Here's the tune being played from start to finish at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. I'll ignore the repeats for now. Here that is again, one last time at 100 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. As I've done with other tunes, I'll upload a separate backing track so you can practice playing along with other instruments. This will give you more of a feel for the tune and get you used to playing with the band. However, the backing track is at 115 beats per minute. So, here it is being played again at 115 beats per minute with a 2-bar introduction. If you find it's too fast for now, I'll put a couple of minutes of metronome beats at 115 beats per minute at the end of this video, so you can practice along with that. And here it is again at 115 beats per minute one last time. I hope you found this lesson useful and you've learned a technique that's new to you. And if you're new to these lessons or this channel, please like, subscribe and hit the bell icon, and then you'll be notified when I upload new videos. And if you didn't know, this lesson is part of a full fingerstyle guitar course that you can find on my YouTube channel or at www.ebooks4guitar.com. And finally, and most importantly, thank you very much for watching and supporting the channel. It's very much appreciated.